Is Nintendo a genre? Well, Webster's dictionary defines a genre as, hey, cool it. That was a joke. I'm not quite that unoriginal. There are a whole lot of video game genres out there. Shooters, platformers, fighting, racing, or adventure games. Stealth puzzle RPGs? I don't know, probably. But what you might not think of as a genre is Nintendo games. In fact, it probably sounds pretty dumb. And well, it is dumb. But I also think that it might be true. Sure, Nintendo games would be categorized into a variety of different genres that are already out there. Mario is a platformer, Zelda is an adventure game, and Metroid is a shooter. Excuse, Redkwan? Metroid is actually a first-person adventure game, and it's actually a Retro Studios game, not a Nintendo game. Yeah, nice catch. But I think Nintendo games have a lot of the characteristics of games within a singular game genre, and I think there's a decent argument to be made that Nintendo games really are their own classification. Sadly, I'm an idiot who won't be able to make that argument in the slightest, so we're in for a bumpy ride. Hello all 1,640 of you, I'm Redkwan, and is Nintendo a genre? So like I said, this sounds pretty dumb, because Nintendo games have a huge variety in terms of settings, art styles, typical genre classifications, and just about anything else you can think of. It's hard to look at something like Zelda Twilight Princess and say it's in the same genre as Mario Super Sluggers. You'd sound like an idiot. But the thing is, games in a certain genre don't have to look the same. They don't have to be about the same things. They don't even have to have similar concepts. It's all about the gameplay. And while Nintendo games seem very different on a surface level, I think they do actually have a lot in common when it comes to gameplay. Nintendo games all feel a certain way. For most games, without any other information like characters, music, or art design, I think I would still be able to tell if the game was a Nintendo game or not, just from the way it plays. I'm not talking about something cheesy like, there's that magical feeling you get when playing a Nintendo game. It's just some of that Nintendo magic. No, stop it. I can't handle that much cheesiness. But I do think that the way Nintendo makes games is different than how just about everybody else does, and it gives their games a certain feel that's pretty distinct. I'm not saying they play better or worse than other games, I just think it's different. I think the word I would best describe it as is solid. And I'll clarify again because I'm awful at communicating what I mean today apparently. I don't mean like, oh dude, this gameplay is solid dude. No, stop it. I just mean that it feels really controlled. Like everything works how it should all the time. A little bit rigid maybe, but it all works. Pretty much everyone else who makes games makes them feel a lot looser. The controls feel flexible, but maybe not as reliable. Everything is fluid, but it doesn't always feel like you're in control. Maybe this is all wrong, or maybe I even got it backwards and you feel the opposite. Or maybe I did about as good of a job of describing this as Nintendo did marketing the Wii U. But I think that the way Nintendo makes their games gives them a unique feel that pretty much no non-Nintendo games have, but that almost any Nintendo game has, no matter what traditional categories you'd put it in. And I think a lot of that comes down to Nintendo's game philosophy. Nintendo focuses on gameplay before anything else. For Nintendo, gameplay always comes first, usually at the cost of other things like story. And because of that, Nintendo is always able to get their games to play the way they want them to. Now I could go spouting off about how Nintendo focuses on fun, or how it's not about making something gritty and realistic, it's about making something that people enjoy. But I honestly have no idea if that's actually how Nintendo feels about things, and honestly, I don't care. Also, I think we'd probably all rather die than hear me talk about that. But I'm sure there's something behind it. There's gotta be some reason why Zelda Breath of the Wild feels more similar to Wii Sports Baseball than it does to Skyrim.
I'm done.
Is it Nintendo's philosophy and how they make games? Probably. What is it about Nintendo's philosophy and the way they make games? I don't know, I'm not a game designer. Or smart. But I think they have a different sort of focus on gameplay than most companies do. Is that for the better? I don't know, it depends on what you're looking for in a game. Is it unique? I think it is. And sure, the feel and the way gameplay is designed are big parts of what make games fall into certain genres, but that can only go so far. For something to really be a genre, people need to treat the games in that genre like they're their own category. And I think it's pretty irrefutable that people treat Nintendo games as if they are a genre. If you asked somebody what video games they liked, you would probably expect them to say a genre or two. Oh, I really like first-person shooters and platformers. Well, that probably wouldn't be their combo, but you get the point. If somebody said they liked Nintendo games, I think people would still think that's a pretty normal answer. Replace that with just about any other company and you sound like a lunatic. I really like EA games. Ugh! And this is something that exists within Nintendo fans just as much. A lot of people who play video games will play a lot of stuff from one genre. People who like shooters might buy a lot of shooting games. People who like RPGs will play a lot of RPGs. A lot of these people will hardly play anything outside of that genre. If you change one of those genres into games by Nintendo, you see exactly the same thing. There are a bunch of people who hardly play anything that isn't made by Nintendo. This isn't a thing. This doesn't happen for any other company. In fact, this doesn't happen for anything other than a genre. Sure, some people will really like a game or series for a while, but to play a large amount of games from one category you really like, that only happens with genres. And Nintendo. I'm subtly trying to imply something here. There are enough Nintendo games to classify it as a genre, Nintendo games are distinct enough gameplay-wise to classify themselves as a genre, and people treat them as if they're a genre. So, is Nintendo a genre? I would say it is, but I also don't think you have to say it is. For some people, Nintendo games might not feel any different. Nintendo games might feel like just any other game, and for them, there wouldn't be any distinguishing gameplay features, which is kind of necessary to call something its own game genre. Some people might take a middle stance, saying that while Nintendo games do have a unique feel in general, not all games by Nintendo capture that feeling, and some games not made by Nintendo do. I would say that the fact that the classification of a Nintendo game transcends merely being made by Nintendo almost makes calling Nintendo a genre feel more justified, but I could see some people thinking it's an all or nothing type of deal. For some people, saying a game like Mario has a genre besides platformer would just feel kinda dumb. Nintendo games already fit into other genres, and I could see somebody saying there's too much variety there to say they're all in one category. But for me, I think Nintendo games really are a genre. Based on that definition from Webster's Dictionary that I didn't read at the beginning, it all fits. It has a unique feel and distinct gameplay, and people treat it like it's its own category. And after all, they have that Nintendo magic. No, stop it. Well, I'm Redkwan. How do you feel about Nintendo as a genre? I've said genre so many times that I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right anymore. That's probably bad. I'm sure this is exactly the type of video you were all hoping for the week before E3. E3 predictions? Nah, I'll throw some arbitrary philosophical question that doesn't mean anything and is about the most boring topic anyone could think of. It's hard to come up with video ideas twice a week, okay? Cut me some slack. Anyways, I'm Redkwan, thank you all for watching, and I'll hopefully see you all later. Goodbye.